Imagine being the boss, but instead of an office with questionable coffee, your kingdom is the entire cosmos. Welcome to Zeus's 9 to 5, where team management means keeping gods, mortals, and the occasional irate livestock in check. Legend has it, Zeus could do anything he pleased. Want to turn into a swan for date night? Go for it. Feel like zapping a noisy mortal with lightning? Zap away. No memos, no meetings, just pure, unfiltered CEO energy. But don't get blinded by that divine swagger. Reality check. Zeus had more hoops to jump through than a Greek gymnastics competition. Fate, the Moirai, could overrule even his grandest plans, often leaving him grumbling, "You had one job." And then there was Hera and Athena, part family, part boardroom rivals, equally ready to outsmart or outvote him, or, throw a thunderbolt for emphasis. Power move? Calling HR the moment Hera catches you in yet another shape-shifting scandal. So next time you picture the gods running Olympus like a Fortune 500, remember? Even Zeus had to check his calendar before throwing a thunderbolt party. Running the cosmos? Turns out it's not as hands-off as you'd think. Despite Zeus's immense power, his relationships were fraught with challenges, exemplified by Hera's constant jealousy. If you think reality TV invented jealous wives, think again. Hera was doing it Olympian style long before the drama hit the small screen. Picture her not as Zeus's long-suffering, nagging spouse, but as the OG queen of the gods who took catching your partner cheating to divine fire and brimstone extremes. The ancient Greeks loved painting Hera as the ultimate vindictive wife. She's the original scapegoat for everything from storms to cursed children. Homer and those tragic playwrights? They had a blast casting her as the problematic spouse, tossing epic shade all over Mount Olympus. But let's get one thunderbolt straight. Hera's raison d'etre went way beyond plotting Tony-worthy revenge scenes. Before mythmakers slapped on that jealous queen label, she was the goddess of marriage and a fierce protector of women. Her marital fury had context. After all, Zeus was less king of the gods, more serial dater with a thunderbolt. If your husband kept turning into livestock to charm mortals, you'd have a meltdown too. So no, Hera was never just a cosmic Karen. She was a multifaceted powerhouse, often unfairly dunked on by ancient godly PR. Next time you eye the tabloids, spare a thought for the original goddess whose rep got a mythic remix. While Hera's emotions often ran high, other deities like Athena remained calm and rational. Picture the ultimate model of composure, someone who could meditate through a fire drill. Enter Athena, Olympus's answer to a Zen master, only with more armor and less incense. Tales hail her cool-headedness. She's no diva throwing tantrums or volcanic hissy fits. Athena's approach? Diffusion, not detonation. Need peace between feuding mortals or gods? Call her, the original conflict resolution specialist, helmet included. Her grand entrance? Fully armed, bursting from Zeus's head, sounds less like a mellow birth and more like a superhero origin story. From there, it's all sharp strategy and calm counsel. Take her showdown with Poseidon. He gave a splashy saltwater fountain. She offered Athens an olive tree, a gift that outlasts tides and never eats your driveway. But don't mistake her for frustration-proof. Turning Medusa's hair into snakes? That's not your average spreadsheet therapy. Athena's real superpower? Channeling irritation into innovation. Cool in chaos, with a killer side-eye and a battle plan to match. In contrast to Athena's composed nature, Aphrodite was deeply concerned with her appearance. Picture Aphrodite, treating Mount Olympus like her own personal catwalk, silk swirling, winks calibrated to stun every god in passing. Dubbed the original celestial diva, she redefined vanity before it was cool. Legend has it, if "Mirror, Mirror on the Wall" were trademarked, Aphrodite would have owned it outright, and probably sued Medusa for plagiarism. Most mortals imagine her less as a grand orchestrator of destiny and more as a neckline-to-chin supermodel, obsessed with lipstick shades and fishing for compliments, their applause fueling her glow. But here's the twist the mortals miss. Aphrodite wasn't just Olympus's reigning queen of contour, she was the goddess of passion, cunning plots, and power moves. This not-so-humble diva didn't just launch 1,000 ships, she launched 1,000 trends, and toppled realms with a beauty pageant that sparked the Trojan War. Her secret skincare? Olive oil, honey, and a splash of broken mortal hearts for that extra radiance. So next time you toss a hair flip casually, remember, in Aphrodite's hands, that flick might just tip the scales of gods and men alike. Though Aphrodite focused on beauty, gods like Poseidon had dominion over vast natural realms such as the sea. Quick, name a Greek god with a trident. Did you just picture a glorified fish wrangler? Don't worry, you're in good company. Poseidon's PR team definitely oversold the ocean angle. The usual myth has him oceans deep in sea drama, and maybe the occasional dolphin spa day. But peek under the surface, and his resume's a tidal wave of surprise. Not only ruler of the waves, but also part-time earthquake shaker, horse whisperer, and certified mischief maker whenever the mood hit. The ancient Greeks even dubbed earthquakes Poseidon's tantrums, because when Uncle Poseidon stomped his foot, the whole world quaked. Insurance claims? Blame him. He didn't just chill in his watery bachelor pad either. Poseidon lobbed his trident into land grabs like Corinth and made a famously disastrous bid for Athens. And forget just mermaids. He fathered a wild brood of heroes, monsters, and downright dubious legends across the map. So Poseidon, less lifeguard, more land mover, with a lucrative side hustle as a horse breeder. Earthquakes? Just the god giving his salad a vigorous shakeup. Beyond Poseidon's ocean domain, Hades ruled the underworld, often misunderstood as the embodiment of evil. Ever pictured Hades as the Greek version of Satan? A shadowy mastermind scheming mischief from his underworld office? You're in good company. Pop culture's been serving up that hot take for centuries, casting him as ancient Greece's pitchfork-wielding bad guy. But here's the plot twist. Just because you're lord of the underworld doesn't mean you're evil. Nope. In Greek myth, Hades isn't bribing imps to poke people with tridents. He's more like a cosmic HR rep, sorting paperwork and making sure the departed clock in and out on time. Unlike Satan's fiery kingdom of eternal torment, Hades was less about sadistic fun and more about crowd control. Sure, he ran a tight ship. Rules are rules when you're the boss of all the dearly departed. But he wasn't the maniacal overlord gleefully dishing out punishments. If Hades were Greek Satan, then your high school principal was probably the Antichrist for assigning homework. And forget the flaming horns. Hades' signature look was a helm of darkness. Imagine an extreme invisibility cloak, not some miniature rock star headgear. So why did later tales recast him as the ultimate villain? Stick around for the saga behind Hades' epic PR nightmare. Where Hades was feared for his dark realm, Artemis chose a path of independence, shunning romance. Was Artemis the original founder of the No Boys Allowed Club? Ancient mythmakers would have you think she ran her sacred groves like an exclusive bachelorette bash. Men, scram, or risk an unexpected makeover. Everyone remembers how she turned Actaeon into a deer for peeping and ghosted Orion as if he'd sent her cringy DMs. Artemis, the eternal poster goddess of permanent singlehood, supposedly cared less about romance and more about chasing wild boars through the woods. But here's where the myth goes off the trail. Sure, Artemis sidestepped marriage proposals like dodging spam calls, but she didn't run a 24/7 anti-man fortress. Sometimes she tolerated male gods and mortals, as long as they didn't mansplain archery. Artemis didn't hate men, she just preferred a hike to a Tinder date. Call it fierce independence, not misandry. If Artemis gave the silent treatment, she was just pioneering social distancing long before it was trendy. Her priorities? Less romantic drama, more boar slaying. Artemis's detachment contrasted with her twin Apollo's radiant role as the god of the sun. Ever wonder who's behind those sweltering summer scorchers? Meet Apollo, the original sun influencer, rocking the scene centuries before sunglasses even hit the fashion radar. Mythology says Apollo hit the celestial gym daily, hauling the sun across the sky in a blinged-out golden chariot. Imagine six-pack abs, flowing locks, and zero regard for UV safety. But hold up. Before Apollo stole the spotlight, Helios had the gig. He was the official sun god, sky wrangler, and giver of tan lines, commanding 4 shiny golden horses that probably needed some serious equine therapy. Apollo? He started out as the ultimate multitasker. Music, prophecy, healing, you name it. His ancient LinkedIn profile would break your heart. The Greeks, never shy of a power struggle, eventually split the solar fame. No one could agree who cranked up the heat better, Helios or Apollo. Across the Mediterranean, Rome stirred the pot faster than you could say Saul. The real truth? Apollo wasn't the original sun god. He just knew how to hire a better PR team. While Apollo's beauty and light were celebrated, Hephaestus was often seen as the unattractive and unlucky god. Hephaestus, Olympian blacksmith or mythology's poster child for looks aren't everything? In a pantheon where cheekbones and biceps were basically currency, poor Hephaestus couldn't even swap grooming tips with Apollo. Legend has it he was hobbling, homely, and the focus of non-stop divine roasting. Imagine ancient Greece's ultimate awkward yearbook photo, but immortalized in marble. In a culture obsessed with symmetry, Hephaestus was everyone's cosmic punchline. Next to golden boys like Apollo and goddesses like Aphrodite, our blacksmith god was the underdog no one bet a drachma on. But, surprise, the facts shatter the myth. Not only did he keep his seat at Olympus's high table, he married Aphrodite. Even if she did have a torrid off-hours fling with Ares. And talk about a resume. Hephaestus built everything cool, from Hermes' speedy kicks to Achilles' heroic drip. Abs? Who needs them when you've got anvils? Despite all the ancient trolling, Hephaestus hammered out revenge, inventions, and status. Limp and all, when it comes to career glory, he left his mockers flat on their immortal behinds. Despite Hephaestus's challenges, Ares stood out as the fearless and admired warrior among gods. Picture a warrior so intimidating, his enemies tremble, and his fellow gods roll their eyes. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's Ares, the Greek god of war, whose signature style was equal parts oiled muscles and menacing glares. Ancient poets painted him as courage on steroids, barreling through chaos with wild battle cries and armor loud enough to shout, "Notice me!" Mortals supposedly flocked to him, desperate for even a pinch of his brute bravado. If Ares had Instagram, it'd be nothing but gym selfies and blurry battle snaps tagged Chantrasher Warlife. But here's the kicker. Ares was more brawl than brain. The Greeks didn't exactly award him a trophy for tactics. Most myths catch him losing fights, getting captured, or being dragged off by mom. Thanks, Hera. Ares, proof that looking tough is half the battle. Unfortunately, the other half is actually winning. So next time you picture armies rallying behind Ares, remember? Sometimes the poster god of bravery makes better wall art than war plans. And speaking of art, let's see how his rivals stacked up. Ares' battlefield valor differed greatly from Demeter's nurturing care of the grain and earth. If you thought Demeter was just the ancient Greek goddess of carbs, it's time to put down the bread and listen up. Sure, popular belief paints her as the original flower power, obsessing over wheat like it's some ancient sourdough starter. But let me knead a little nuance into that story. Demeter wasn't just the goddess of grains, she was Olympus's first ever momager, with a resume that rose far beyond baguettes. Case in point, the world's scariest famine wasn't just a gluten-free diet. When Hades snatched her daughter Persephone, Demeter went full crop lockdown, putting all agriculture on ice, gluten-free, whole grain, and everything in between. Anyone questioning her sway? Let the global apocalypse of apples and barley be your warning. And don't pigeonhole her as just a cereal specialist. She also helmed the departments of sacred law and the existential cycle of life and death. The Eleusinian mysteries, those VIP religious rites, honored her complex legacy, drawing city politicians and philosophers, not just jittery farmers. Demeter's mood swings didn't just ruin harvests, they shaped civilization itself. Imagine your garden wilting every time you get hangry. Now that's divine drama. From Demeter's nurturing fields to Dionysus's wild celebrations, the gods embodied many facets of life. When people picture Dionysus, they imagine toga-clad debauchery, rivers of wine, and hangovers so fierce even the gods send sympathy cards. He's the guy you blame for your missing sandals and sudden urge to dance on tables. Ancient art shows him perpetually flanked by satyrs, maenads, and an impressive mountain of empty goblets. Though if Dionysus ever dreamed up the wine spritzer, he totally kept it a secret from ancient Greece. His cult didn't just throw parties, they practically invented party animal as a sacred profession. The Bacchanalia made today's Electric Daisy Carnival look like a quiet knitting circle. But behind the grape-fueled chaos, Dionysian revelries had a method to their madness. Beyond the wild antics, they tore down social walls and occasionally sparked a bit of philosophy. Myth paints Dionysus as the original rock star, flipping off stuffy authorities while preaching ecstatic liberation. and possibly pioneering wild interpretive dance. Of course, some followers got so carried away even Dionysus might have wished for a bouncer. Not shockingly, officials sometimes banned his mysteries for being a bit too unruly. Yet these rituals offered more than just raucous fun. They promised creative inspiration and spiritual awakening, which explains why your typical book club sometimes feels like a Dionysian rite on a Friday night. So next time someone says, "Work hard, play hard," remember, Dionysus threw the first and arguably wildest afterparty in history. Alongside Dionysus's revelry, Hermes added mischief and clever tricks to the divine ensemble. Hermes, the ancient world's fastest messenger, and quite possibly its first serial prank caller. Picture him darting across ancient Greece, winged sandals strapped tight, pulling stunts that make every modern prankster look like a Cub Scout. Caller ID? Who needs it when you're the god's official mischief maestro? Let's shatter a myth. Hermes wasn't just Olympus's jester with a penchant for chaos. Fresh out of the womb, he swiped Apollo's cattle before mastering the art of toddling. Prodigy or petty thief? Why not both? Instead of hiding the evidence, he crafted the lyre from a tortoise shell. Sorry, mister. Turtle, to charm his way out of a celestial scolding. Now that's a negotiation move that would make Silicon Valley disruptors jealous. But Hermes wasn't all pranks and petulance. As god of trade, travel, boundaries, and the ultimate Uber driver for souls to the underworld, he multitasked harder than a startup fueled by too much espresso. Sure, he stirred up trouble, but often his mischief was problem-solving in disguise, delivering divine messages, brokering peace, and even cooking up the ancient world's first food delivery hustle. Born today, Hermes would have launched TikTok and ghosted before you hit accept terms. Now that's divine hustle. Though Hermes delighted in pranks, Persephone's story was one of victimhood and transformation. Persephone, mythological damsel or goddess with a master plan. If she's really just a passive victim, then I'm the rightful ruler of Mount Olympus. Popular culture paints her as a fainting, flailing maiden, kidnapped by Hades with all the melodrama of a midday soap opera. But let's lift the veil on this mythological melodrama. Ancient sources don't all read from the same scroll. Take the Homeric hymn to Demeter. It hints that Persephone had a lot more agency than she gets credit for. The famous pomegranate seeds? Some versions suggest she ate them deliberately, a calculated snack choice, not an accidental nibble. She knew the underworld rules. She didn't just eat the seeds. She probably paired them with a fine Merlot. Every spring, Persephone returns, not as a broken exile, but as the dignified queen of the underworld. Now that's what I call career goals. In Greek myth, goddesses multitask. Persephone is beloved daughter, fierce ruler, and ultimate power player all at once. Forget sobbing in a corner. Ancient art shows her regal and composed, her annual comeback turning spring into a boss-level power move. The only thing more overplayed than helpless Persephone? My Spotify summer playlist. Persephone's plight reflects the complex struggles beyond the simplistic image of Titans as mere villains. Forget everything Marvel and Percy Jackson told you. The Titans weren't just hulking bad guys with serious daddy issues. Pop culture loves to paint them as toga-clad mustache twirlers, scheming like Bond villains with a messy family drama playlist. But the original Greek myths? Predictably weirder, and yes, way more dysfunctional. Not every Titan strutted around with "I evil" tattooed on their foreheads. Sure, Cronus munched on his kids, but hey, no family holiday dinner is perfect. Most just don't bring cannibalism to the table. Beyond that, a surprising number of Titans actually got along with the gods, switching sides more often than people switch gym memberships in January. Take Prometheus, part rebel, part Oprah, handing out fire and curiosity with a generous "you get enlightenment." And you get enlightenment. After their cosmic defeat, many Titans snagged cushy retirements instead of eternal torment. If evil were that straightforward, Greek escape rooms would be bursting with grumpy, glowing-eyed cosmic exiles. So next time someone calls all Titans villains, remind them it's like branding all your exes evil. The truth is messier and way more entertaining at parties. After the Titans' reign, the Olympian gods emerged, often portrayed as a harmonious family unit despite their conflicts. Picture Mount Olympus as a celestial sitcom. Laughter, drama, and a few thunderbolts for good measure. Imagine the Olympian gods lounging above the clouds, a picture-perfect harmonious family feasting and sipping nectar, their holiday card cheerfully proclaiming, "Wishing you peace, love, and at least one fewer dramatic thunderstorm. Popular myth paints them as the poster gods of divine domestic bliss. Reality check. These gods were more Real Housewives than Brady Bunch. Jealousy simmered, betrayal bubbled, and sibling rivalry was basically an Olympic event. Zeus, the all-powerful head honcho, had a wandering eye that kept Hera perpetually on edge. Ares and Athena? War wasn't just their profession. It was their favorite family feud. Poor Hephaestus got literally tossed off Olympus by his own mother. Family dinners could spiral from polite to pandemonium faster than Hermes could deliver a message. If Olympus ever hired a family therapist, they'd have retired early. And with Zeus's track record, their unofficial motto might as well be, "What happens on Olympus makes every myth a blockbuster."